10 betrayals, that's what it took to destroy the original Black Sabbath. Not one blow-up. 10 separate moments where a manager, a label, or one of the four of them made a choice that took something away and never gave it back. You know the riffs, you don't know what they cost. And the last one is why four men who grew up a few streets apart only stood on the same stage once in the final 20 years of their lives. 10. The Writ in the Live Room.
Say, where are you go?
Let me put you in the room. Willesden, London, Morgan Studios. Tony Iommi is halfway through tracking a song called Megalomania when a stranger walks into the live room, asks which one of them is Tony, and hands him a writ. The take stops. Lawyers get called. Affidavits get signed at the mixing desk, and then, I love this, they go back and finish the song. This is 1975. This is the making of Sabotage. And that title isn't poetry, it's a description. Geezer described it as the bleakest record they made. Lawyers coming into the studio. Their former manager suing them suing him. Him trying to stop them recording and freeze all their money. 3 lawyers waiting at the door with subpoenas when they turned up to write a song. It took about 10 months to finish because of the interruptions. 10 months. For a band that used to knock out classics in a matter of days. Here's the wait what. The album's closing track is literally called The Writ. The title came from the producer, after Meehan's lawyers turned up unannounced at Morgan Studios. They named a song after the piece of paper that ruined their year. And you can hear it. Iommi said his guitar sound got harder on that record, and he put it down to the aggravation over the management and the lawyers. Some of the angriest music in the Sabbath catalog exists because 4 men were being sued while trying to make it. Here's the thing about that era. There was no safety net, no manager you could call to fix the manager. You just kept working while the walls came down.
As the war machine keeps turning.
And if you've ever tried to do your best creative work while your life was quietly collapsing in the background, you already know what that album cost them. 9. The Singer Who Got Erased. Late 1977, Ozzy Osbourne walks out of Black Sabbath. Not fired, not pushed, he just goes. So the band calls a singer named Dave Walker, a Birmingham lad who'd been in Savoy Brown and had a brief run in Fleetwood Mac. He was in California with a band falling apart when Sabbath's road manager rang. He flew straight over and started rehearsals at an old mill near Rockfield Studios in Monmouth. They played him what they'd been working on and told him they needed lyrics. There wasn't one complete song, just reels of tape with ideas on them. So Walker wrote, a lot. On January 6, 1978, Black Sabbath filmed a 2-song set for the BBC Midlands program Look Here, Dave Walker singing an early version of Junior's Eyes. Real footage, real band, real new singer. Then this happens. Walker actually met Ozzy in a pub during that period. Said he felt sad for him. The man was shaking. There was no talk of him coming back, but Walker had a feeling he was having second thoughts. He was right. Ozzy asked to rejoin, days before he was due in the studio for his own first solo project. Sabbath took him back. Walker was out. And here's the part that stings. Ozzy refused to sing anything Dave Walker had written. Geezer went back to being the lyricist. Junior's Eyes was rewritten completely, reborn as an elegy for Ozzy's father who had died. So Walker wrote a shed-load of words for a Black Sabbath album, and not one of them survived. For nearly 50 years, the only proof he'd ever fronted the band was a grainy audio recording. Then, in November 2025, video of that Look Here performance finally surfaced. Being erased is a different kind of pain than being fired. Fired, at least people know you were there.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
April 27th, 1979. You know this date even if you don't know the date. April 27th, 1979. Bill Ward knocks on a door in Los Angeles and tells Ozzy Osbourne he's out of Black Sabbath. Here's what makes it a betrayal instead of a business decision. Ozzy's version. They were rehearsing in LA. He was loaded, but then he was loaded all the time. And it was obvious Bill had been sent by the others, because Bill wasn't the firing type. Bill was his best mate in that band. That's who they sent. Ward later said he volunteered for it. Iommi's defense in his own memoir was that he was speaking for the band, and somebody had to make a move. And Ozzy? He said he'd be lying if he claimed he didn't feel betrayed. They weren't a manufactured group with expendable members. They were like brothers, and getting fired for being messed up when everybody was messed up was hypocritical. He's not wrong about that last part. That's the whole thing. It wasn't that he was using, it's that they all were, and only one of them got the door. But here's the detail that reframes everything. Geezer Butler revealed years later that before Ozzy, Bill Ward had come round to his house and told him that he was fired, after a meeting with the rest of the guys. Geezer asked Tony and Ozzy about it afterwards. They had no idea what he was talking about. There'd been no meeting. In this band, you could be told you were finished by a man who'd appointed himself the messenger. Geezer's word for the Ozzy firing, decades on, was heartbreaking. He said it was like cutting your arm off. I'd argue this is the one that actually killed the original band. Everything after it is aftershock. Some of you will disagree. I know Heaven and Hell is a masterpiece, but the four of them were never the four of them again. Seven, the drummer who disappeared mid-tour. Nobody talks about this one, and it's the saddest entry on the list. Sabbath survives losing Ozzy. Dio comes in. Heaven and Hell is a genuine triumph. New sound, new fire, a band nobody expected to matter again suddenly mattering enormously. And then, in the middle of the tour, Bill Ward vanishes. He left partway through the tour after a show on August 19, 1980. Vinny Appice took his place from August 31st. Cozy Powell turned the gig down first. Appis's debut was at the Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. On paper, it reads as a health problem. It wasn't just that. Ward said the idea of bringing in a new singer came from Tony. He got on fine with Ronnie personally, no bad feelings toward the man at all, but he missed Ozzy badly. Black Sabbath to him meant 4 specific people. And as a co-writer, he'd always been able to put ideas in, but once Ronnie arrived, it became more of a Ronnie and Tony collaboration. He said he felt alien in the band, and he drank harder than he ever had.
Quick and start to run.
His own words later, he fell apart, blamed everybody and everything, and that's why he left the tour. Here's what gets me about this. He didn't leave because the music was bad. The music was great. He left because he was standing in the middle of a band that had his name on it, and it didn't feel like his band anymore. There's a particular grief in that. Everyone around you says the new thing is working, and it is working, and you're the only one in the room who's mourning. Nobody betrayed Bill Ward in 1980. That's what makes it worse. They just kept going, and he couldn't. Six, the mix that split the band in half. 1982. Sabbath are rebuilt. They've got 2 classic albums with Dio, and they're putting together their first proper live record. It should have been a victory lap. It ended the whole era. Live Evil was recorded on the Mob Rules tour and mixed at the record plant in Los Angeles. And the session split down the middle, Dio and Vinny Appice wanting a raw live sound. Iommi and Butler wanting studio overdubs to polish the instruments. Geezer's own description of those sessions was the Yanks against the Brits. Then came the accusation. Iommi and Butler accused Dio of sneaking into the studio at night to remix the record behind their backs, pushing his vocals and Appice's drums up and the guitar and bass down. Career over. Era finished. Dio left in November 1982 and took Vinny Appice with him to start his own band. Now here's the reframe, and it's a good one. Appice's account is that the studio was booked for 2 o'clock. Iommi and Butler wouldn't turn up until 4 or 5, and it was an expensive room. So Ronnie, who wanted to work, would get started on whatever needed doing. And that got read as sneaking around behind their backs. Iommi's version is that an engineer told him Dio had been in at night adjusting the mix. So one of the great lineups in metal history may have detonated over a scheduling gap and a nervous engineer. There was more underneath it. Dio was unhappy at being credited simply as Ronnie Dio, a name he hadn't used since 1967. And Appice was annoyed at being listed as a special guest rather than a member. Credits again. Same wound as Meehan, different decade. You know what's worse than being cheated? Being made small on your own record. The album they never wanted to call Black Sabbath. (1983). Dio's gone, and Tony Iommi does something genuinely bold. He gets Ian Gillan, the voice of Deep Purple, to front the band. Except that's not the plan. Not at first. The project was originally meant to be a brand new supergroup. The members had no intention of billing themselves as Black Sabbath. Even the way Gillan joined was chaos. He committed after a night of heavy drinking in February 1983. The next morning, he had no memory of agreeing to it and said he didn't even like Black Sabbath's music, but the deal was already done. I know, I didn't believe it either. Bill Ward came back for it. He recorded the album, then left before the tour started, and ex-ELO drummer Bev Bevan took the drum chair. Ward's own explanation? He fell apart at the idea of touring, didn't talk about the fear, and drank behind it instead. But here's the betrayal. After recording was finished, Don Arden insisted they use the Sabbath name. The members were overruled on their own band, and it went exactly how you'd expect. Gillan wouldn't learn the lyrics to the classics. He had the words to songs like War Pigs written in a scrapbook hidden behind his vocal monitors. Four, the solo record that got a band's name stamped on it. Geezer Butler left after the Born Again tour in 1984. That's it. Tony Iommi is the last man standing. So he does the reasonable thing. He writes a solo record, deliberately not a Sabbath record. Bluesier, lighter, ex-Deep Purple singer Glenn Hughes on vocals, a completely different band. Then the phone rings. Because of pressure from Warner Brothers and prompting from manager Don Arden, the record was billed as Black Sabbath, featuring Tony Iommi. The last-minute push came from a simple belief. It would sell more with the famous name on it. Iommi's reaction says everything. Neither he nor Hughes was pleased because they felt they weren't doing the record justice by presenting it that way. And then having to go out and play War Pigs and Iron Man, it just wasn't right. Seventh Star came out in January 1986 and reached number 27 in the UK and 78 on the Billboard 200. Here's the wait what nobody expects. There's a fifth man in this story you've almost certainly never seen. Jeff Nichols. He first appeared on a Sabbath album with Heaven and Hell in 1980 and was credited as keyboardist on every release right through to Forbidden in 1995. But he wasn't an official member until 1986. And he rarely appeared on stage at all. He usually played from the side of the stage or from backstage entirely. 25 years, behind the curtain. There was one big exception, the Seventh Star Tour, where he finally stood out front as an equal member of the band. The one time the name on the cover was a lie was the one time the Invisible Man got to be seen. Jeff Nichols died in January 2017. And if you've spent years being essential to something and watching your name land in the small print, you already know why this one belongs on the list. 3. I have more pride than that. 1992. Ozzy announces he's retiring. 2 farewell shows, November 14th and 15th, in Costa Mesa, California, and he asks his old band to open. It's a beautiful idea. Sabbath opens, Ozzy plays, and at the end of the night, the original 4 stand together and close the circle. One problem. Sabbath's singer at that moment is Ronnie James Dio. Dio flat out refused to open for the man he'd replaced, and then watch from the wings while they reunited at the end of the night. His own words. He was told mid-tour they'd be opening for Ozzy, and he said no. He had more pride than that. According to Iommi's memoir, the line was even blunter than that. Dio made his case, then left the band, and Iommi had to figure out another plan. So what did they do? They called Rob Halford of Judas Priest, who learned an hour-long set of songs he'd never performed, and fronted Black Sabbath for the night. Think about the geometry of that. A band opening for their own former singer, fronted by a different band's singer, because the current singer wouldn't share a stage with the past. And at the end of the night, Ozzy came out and did 4 songs with them. Fairies Wear Boots, Black Sabbath, Iron Man, and Paranoid. 4 songs. That's what the reunion was. 4 songs in a Californian amphitheater because everybody's pride was pointed in a different direction. And if you've ever watched people you love refuse to be in the same room over something that mattered enormously to them and looks small from the outside, you know exactly how much time that wastes. Years. It wastes years. 2. He found out on television. This is the one that still bothers me most. 1997. It finally happens. Ozfest is announced. And Black Sabbath is headlining. Billed as the original lineup, the reunion everybody had waited 18 years for, except Bill Ward wasn't in it. He'd been excluded from those initial reunion concerts. Mike Bourdin from Faith No More, Ozzy's drummer at the time, was brought in instead. Now here's the detail. Ward said he learned of his exclusion on MTV, not a phone call, not a conversation with 3 men he'd known since he was a teenager. Television. So why did it happen? The explanations don't quite line up, and that's part of what makes it hurt. Ozzy's memoir says he honestly didn't know why they couldn't get Bill for those first shows, and that he'd been told about health issues. Iommi's memoir points at Sharon Osbourne running things. His read was that she assumed involving Bill would mean lawyers and hard work, so she didn't ask. Geezer's book says much the same. She needed a quick yes or no, and didn't think she'd get one from Bill. Nobody asked him. That's the whole story. Nobody asked. By late December 1997, all 4 did put it aside for 2 shows at the NEC in their hometown of Birmingham, the shows that became the reunion album. Then in May 1998, Ward had a heart attack during tour rehearsals and missed nearly all of that year's appearances. The man who took his seat? Bourdin called Ward's playing phenomenally individual and completely unique, said nobody could play those songs like him. And described his own performance as a tribute to the man who wasn't on stage but should have been. The substitute understood what the band forgot. One, the name, the contract, and 17 days. The last betrayal is really 3, and they happen in a straight line. It starts with the name. After a merchandising deal reported at around $80 million expired in 2006, Iommi reclaimed sole ownership of the Black Sabbath trademark. In May 2009, Ozzy sued him for a 50% interest in it and a share of the profits from the name. Ozzy's public statement was almost gentle. He said he was sorry it had come to taking action, but they'd all worked too hard and too long for one of them to be selling merchandise with everyone's faces on it and then claim to own the copyright. And this was his real argument. Morally, he believed the name should be shared equally between the four of them. They were all in their 60s. The legacy should outlast them. They settled in 2010. Then it happens again. On November 11th, 2011, at the Whiskey A Go-Go, all four announced they were reforming. New album, world tour, Rick Rubin producing. Three months later, it's over. Ward's statement in February 2012 said he couldn't continue without a signable contract, one that reflected some dignity and respect toward him as an original member. He said he'd worked in good faith all through the previous year, stood up at the press conference in good faith, and then, after nearly a year of negotiating, been handed another unsignable contract. The band carried on without him. "13" was recorded with Brad Wilk on drums, and Tommy Clufetos toured it. Then it got ugly in public. Ozzy said Ward was incredibly overweight, that a drummer has to be in shape, that he'd already had 2 heart attacks, and that he didn't want to be responsible for his life. Ward's response, years later, it killed the friendship. There was no doubt about it. Clufetos drummed the End Tour, 2016 to 2017, billed as Black Sabbath's final touring cycle. The contractual impasse was never resolved, and then, February 2025, Sharon Osbourne and Tony Iommi stand at Villa Park and announce that the original Black Sabbath, all 4 of them, will play together for the first time in 20 years. July 5th, 2025, Villa Park, Aston, Birmingham. A short walk from where they formed in 1968, 42,000 people in the ground, 3 million more paying to watch it stream. Ozzy performed seated, 76 years old, recovering from spinal surgeries and living with Parkinson's. Four men, one stage, one night. 17 days later, on July 22nd, Ozzy Osbourne died.